All right. A good morning to everyone joining us today. I'm Rawlings, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to this session on the business of blueberry production. Before we begin the presentations, I would like to introduce the distinguished panel of experts who will be guiding us for today's session. And we are privileged to have with us today Charles Wright from Netafim, and who is going to be our main speaker. And his focus is on maximizing yields through precision irrigation and smart farming systems. Good morning, Charles. How are you?
Good morning, Rawlings. I'm very well, and how are you?
Good. Thanks for joining in. Then we also have Rudo Chinoyi from Polachem, and Rudo is an expert in crop protection, and will be discussing with us how to maintain crop health and vigor. All right. We also have Bolton Kudzai Kakava from Bolton Consultants, and Bolton will guide us through the rigorous quality and logistic standards that help us to meet export demand or export market requirements. Good morning, Bolton. How are you?
Greetings, good morning.
Good. Thanks for tuning in. We are glad to have you join us today. We also have Tinashe and Nlea from the Agricultural Marketing Authority, and Tinashe will provide deep insights into local market dynamics, the price trends, as well as domestic market requirements. Let me also introduce our speaker from Zintrade. She is Vivinah Matswetu, and she will highlight the export market and the institutional support available to support us local farmers. Good morning, Vivinah.
Good morning. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So a warm welcome to our speakers, and we are ready to learn from the best in the business. So to start our presentations, let me invite Charles Wright to the floor. I think you remember Charles from the article we shared in the Agribusiness magazine, the article by Marike. So I'm sure you farmers, you enjoyed the article, and I did so a lot, or we did get a lot of responses and comments from you. Thanks for that one. So Charles' topic is maximizing blueberry yields and profitability for South African farmers. And Charles has been a pioneer in transforming blueberry yields in our region. And you know, Netafim, they are very good at precision irrigation being a necessity rather than a luxury for this sensitive blueberry crop, especially given the Zimbabwe's water scarcity, or the region's water scarcity, and the need to meet high export quality standards. So we look forward, Charles, to your guide on starting production, precision irrigation, as well as how we can optimize our production. Charles, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rawlings. Just a little bit of background about myself. I am Charles Wright. I'm with Netafim South Africa, and I'm the regional sales manager looking after all the SADC countries, as well as some of the East African countries. So that's why I spend quite a bit of time in Zimbabwe, Zambia, Botswana, and some of the other countries as well. So we have a footprint in all of these countries. We or usually work through a dealer network or distributors, and but I'll talk a bit about that later on. So just talking about blueberry production and precision irrigation. I'm going to talk a bit about the blueberry plant. Just very quickly, what the requirements are of the plant, why it needs precision irrigation in our opinion, what is the benefits of using drip irrigation on blueberries, precision farming in Zimbabwe, particularly a couple of things about that. Then which factors to consider when you are planning a berry project. What is the value of fertigation? Shortly, what we offer from Netafim side, and then a couple of tips to keep in mind, to be successful. First of all, there is a number of things when you look at blueberries. The plant needs precise irrigation requirements It's got a shallow root system, meaning it's not, the roots don't go very deep into the soil. And because it's very shallow, you need to manage your nutrition and your watering, your irrigation optimally. It needs to be hands-on to ensure that your soil doesn't drain too much, and that you don't over or underwater. It's also a crop that is sensitive to extreme climates. It doesn't like frost, or it doesn't like when it gets too hot. So you need to manage that as well. Bee pollination is essential. You need bees during flowering. Many of our blueberry farmers bring in extra bee hives during the peak season when it's necessary. So to ensure that there's enough bees to do the pollination and do that important function. Without that, you're going to struggle. And then the right varieties, the picking and the infrastructure that you require, it's quite a complex crop, and there's quite a lot of things needed around it. So, but I'll expand on this a little bit later. So why does blueberries need precision irrigation? As I explained, it is sensitive to over and under watering, meaning if the soil is too wet, it doesn't like it. If it's too dry, it doesn't like it. So you need to manage your moisture levels in the soil very, very well. And this is due, again, to the shallow root zone. It is sensitive to salinity, as I mentioned. It requires slightly acidic soils. Unlike many other crops where you can get away, or where you must lime and bring up your pH of the soil, blueberries actually prefer slightly acidic soil. And it requires consistent moisture in the soil. And this is to make sure that you get optimal flowering. So during the peak periods when it's flowering, fruit set, or when the berries are filling, that is when you need moisture in the soils, and it must be optimal. You don't need to, the plant doesn't like to be stressed. So what is the benefits of drip irrigation? And drip irrigation really is to manage those soil moisture levels in the root zone optimally, and to reduce the plant stress. So the optimal water and nutrient delivery drives the yield size, very important. Obviously, you want more berries, but you don't only want more berries, you want proper, good quality berries. And you get a premium for those berries in the market. So it's very beneficial in a very competitive market to make sure that your water and your nutrients are delivered optimally, to ensure that you get the good quality product and the right size of product. It also gives the farmer full control to help manage the crop. That's what's so nice about drip irrigation. You can apply the right amount of water at the right time, and the same with your nutrients. Through the drip irrigation, you apply the right nutrients at the right time, and you can act very fast and make those decisions. The inputs, the water and the nutrients are used very efficiently. And the targeted water application also reduces weeds and disease pressure. You are not irrigating this plant overhead, meaning with sprinklers or anything like that, where you wet the whole plant and the leaves. So that helps you to prevent diseases on the leaves. And you also do not apply areas of your field in between the plants. You put your water exactly where it's needed in the root zone. And that enables precision fertigation for that optimal nutrient management. You're not wasting water, and you're not wasting fertilizer. Very important. Moving on in the context of Zimbabwe, if we look at Zimbabwe, there are areas in Zimbabwe where water is quite scarce. The climate is not 100% ideal. It can get wet and very dry, very hot areas. And rainfall is unpredictable. It's becoming more and more unpredictable as we continue. We just look at what's happening with us in South Africa, for instance. There's areas that's receiving floods this time of the year, while there's areas that doesn't receive enough rain. So it's really we can't guarantee rain anymore. So irrigation is non-negotiable. Flood irrigation, all your traditional sorts of methods of irrigation, flood irrigation, sprinkler irrigation, they are highly inefficient. They waste huge amounts of water. And so that's why you need precision irrigation. Also, for Zimbabwe, it's a very important export crop. It's a very profitable crop. It's a high value crop, and it's only for the export market, or the majority of the export market. And that is obviously brings in very much needed foreign currency for the country. And it maximizes your return on investment if you put precision irrigation in and manage everything. These projects are not cheap to implement. So obviously you need optimum yields, optimum quality to get your money back as soon as possible. Then in terms of efficient fertigation, most soils in Zimbabwe are fairly sandy soils, mostly fairly acidic soils with a low cation exchange capacity. And that only means that the soil can't really hold on to nutrients enough. And you need to be applying nutrients on a continuous basis so that the plant doesn't run out of any nutrients. And then fertigation is a must, to apply your fertilizers directly in the root zone at the right time and the precise quantity, because you can't work with those soils. You can't rely on the soils to basically provide that buffer and keep onto the nutrients. Factors that impact a berry project. So now I'm moving more towards what's the different options that farmers has. The first thing is you can plant berries either directly in the soil. If you have a good, well-drained soil, they can grow easily in the soil, or in a medium, in a pot. So basically a soilless medium that you put in pots. And so many farmers where soil is not ideal and there's issues with the soil quality, they would rather opt for using pots. I'll show you some pictures next to just show you the difference, and we can talk about that. Then obviously water availability, and more importantly water quality. That is crucial. You must have enough water to make sure that the crop is always irrigated correctly, but the quality must also be very good. And we can help you with interpreting water analysis. If you have any questions about that, we do have a very capable team of agronomists working for us, and this is their specialty. Then the type of environment that you want to put your berries in. You can do a greenhouse, you can do a net house if you want a covered environment for them. More importantly, what is cultivars, suitable cultivars? We normally do not give any advice around cultivars because there's a lot of developments done by the big blueberry producing organizations. And these guys produce berry cultivars almost constantly. They come up with something new, something big, better. So it's very important that you speak to these guys to make sure that for your area that you plant the right cultivars. You don't want to plant something that is old, something that the market doesn't want. These days, berries are getting bigger. The market likes a bigger berry, a more juicier berry. So it's very important that you plant the right cultivar. It will help you down the line when you are in production. In fertigation requirements, as I've spoken about previously, very important to make sure that you put the right fertigation in, and what your drip irrigation, or in the pots we use online drippers, what that is, what requirements you have there. Moving on to some pictures, I just quickly want to show you. There's a couple of examples where you've got soil, usually on the. Let me see if I can get my laser pointer here. So these are planted directly in the soil. Very often they are not covered. These ones are covered in this picture. They've got nets going over it. Very often in Zimbabwe, many farmers opt for not using any cover. They don't put nets over. They just plant it open. The climate is suitable for that, which makes a project then much cheaper if you do not have to put up structures. In greenhouses, you can do it as well, where you do pots. This is more suitable, obviously, for pots. And so, yeah, these are the two options. You either have a medium like this, a cocoa peat medium that you put in a pot, and you've got your dripper, your blank line on the ground with an online dripper, and then arrow drippers into the pots. And that, again, applies the precise quantity of water and nutrients to that pot. We also have a product called the net bow, which is very similar to this. It's just a much more neater product that we used to do. It applies the drippers are basically in this circle, and it's put around the tree like this. You get it in different sizes. There's a smaller one for when the trees are very small, and then as the trees grow bigger, you can put a bigger one if you want to. So there's very various options. I think that's the important thing here. For a farmer, they need to decide, do they want to do soil? In that case, we do dripper line. There's the Uniram drip line that we use, and there's two lines going in either side of the ridge, and you've got your plants planted on top there. So whether you want to do soil, whether you want to do pots, every farm differs. We can help you with making a decision here, or our dealers, our distributors in Zimbabwe. We've got 4 or 5 very, very competent dealers who are excellent at blueberries. They will look at the farm, and they take factors like the slope, the type of soil, the climate, the humidity, all these things into consideration, and they give you the best advice on which route to follow. Moving on, I want to talk a bit about the system approach. So when you go to one of our dealers or you speak to us, the first thing they will say is you need a proper design. You need a proper irrigation design that is based on industry norms. You need a very well-planned head control room or a pump house. How many main lines do you need? How many block valves in the pump house do you need? How many blocks are you going to have? These are all very complicated calculations, but very important to make the right decision up front when you design the whole project, so that you make sure that you take all the factors into consideration, you apply the right amount of water, and if you want to expand later on, they can make provision for that in the initial planning to say, okay, you're going to need, if you expand, you're going to need maybe a bigger main line, so that you will have enough water. The design then enables you to do continuous maintenance on all these products. Maintenance is crucial with any irrigation system. You need a lot of attention to the fertilizer mixing and the storage for your pump room, or where you're going to mix your fertilizers. You need a capable fertigation and dosing system. I'll show you some pictures on what we offer in that regard. You need what we call anti-drain drippers and non-leakage devices. So if you use a drip line, very important that it's a pressure compensated drip line to ensure that every dripper gives the same amount of water. Especially if you've got a little bit of a slope, and you don't want the system to leak out of the drippers. I'm not going to go into the technical details of this. We can share, anyone that's interested to learn more about the difference between normal drip line, pressure compensated, and non-leakage devices and all these things can reach out to me, and I'll share the information with them. Also your pressure sustaining valves, and then the focus on drainage. Very important that all these factors are taken into consideration when you design your system up front. So the benefits of the fertigation. Now, fertigation is where you put your fertilizer through your water. This is not irrigation. Irrigation is just clean water. Fertigation is where you mix your fertilizer in the pump room and you put it through, and that is called fertigation. So here we focus on continuously feeding the plant. Blueberries is a crop that requires constant feeding. So a lot of times, feeding a lot of times, but a little bit at a time. Fertigation in line with the plant's needs. So again, you need to apply it when the plant needs the fertilizer. This is not a crop where you can take a bag of fertilizer and just, top dress it on the tree or whatever. This is a crop where you need to be precise, and every day it needs to get the precise amount of water and the precise amount of fertilizer or nutrients that it needs at that growing stage, or at that stage where you are. It also helps us to manage the salinity and the acidity of the mixtures. So on our dosing machines, we've got an EC and a pH meter where you can exactly see and monitor what is the electrical conductivity of the mixture that you put through, in other words, your salinity, and what is the pH of your mixture that you put through. So there can't be any mistakes. Then we like to maximize the potential. It's a high value crop, and we want to ensure the export quality yields that is necessary. I want to show you some photos. These are some fertigation or dosing machines. So here you will see a typical layout of a pump room, or the head control basically. You'll have your fertilizer tanks and your dosing machine. So the fertilizer is sucked into this machine. That machine then mixes the fertilizer with the water and pumps it into your irrigation system at a very specific rate. And you can program that controller to tell it, this is the EC I want, this is the pH I want, or you can do it on ratio based on volume to say, I want this amount of fertilizer mixed with that amount of water. It's very different. It's a flexible system that they've got. The fact of the matter is, all these dosing machines or using a dosing machine is actually not negotiable when you have a blueberry project. You are applying your fertilizer through the water, and you have to monitor what is the EC, what is the pH, so that you do not burn the plants with too saline conditions, and you make sure that the pH is correct of your mixture. So it's very, very important. It's crucial that you apply your fertilizer through one of these dosing machines. This is typically inside just normal plastic tanks for fertilizers. The fertilizers are mixed. You'll see some bags lying there in the back in this example. So you have a couple of guys, they come in here, they mix the fertilizer into these tanks. Inside these tanks are usually a blower. So it blows air and it mixes the fertilizer, makes sure that it's, dissolves 100% into the tank before it goes to the dosing machine. So the first process is for the guys to mix it here. It then goes out of the tank through a filter to ensure that there's no little bits and pieces, going through to your machine. Goes through a filtration. It ends up in this machine. And as I say, then it gets mixed in the machine in the correct ratio, 100%. And there's no mistakes to be made there. So really important factor that we offer to the guys. So just a little bit more on our offer that we can provide. We have a range of inline drippers, your normal drip irrigation, your drip lines. Normally on blueberries, we use Uniram CNL, which is compensated non-leakage. So meaning it's a pressure compensated drip line and it doesn't leak out when it stands still. So it doesn't drain out basically. So we have a complete range of that available. We've got online drippers available. So that's the ones that you use with a tubing into a pot with an arrow dripper. Also very exact. We have a full range of fertigation and automation solutions. As I just showed you, there's various of those machines available depending on the size of your project. We can put that up, and we've got some very state-of-the-art controllers that we match with those dosing machines to program exactly how much fertilizer, how much water, when to apply it. It's quite exciting, the technology these days that's available to farmers to do things precise. Then Netafim, obviously, we also have the filtration solutions. We've got excellent filters available and all the complementary products that go around with that. We've got water meters, valves, you name it. The whole pump room, basically, we can supply you, and in-field, obviously. We have some global experience with blueberry production. We are a global company. In Peru, where blueberries is also very, very big. We are also there supplying most of those blueberry projects with our products. And then in other parts of the world, you name it, we are all over. And so we are involved with blueberries wherever they are. Australia is one of the big growers. We are there as well, working very close with those growers and those dealers that we have there. So we have knowledge that we've gathered over 60 years of existence, and we do ongoing support in partnership with our irrigation dealers. So if a farmer puts up a system and it's got these Netafim products in there, through the dealer and with the dealer, we are there. We are a phone call away. As I mentioned, we've got agronomists, we've got technical advisors in all these countries, who are just a phone call away to come and sort out any issues that you may have. And then, we work very close with all the role players in the blueberry industry, from the growers, our dealers, design. We are, speaking to the nurseries who grow the seedlings. We are involved with everyone, and we know blueberries very well. So it's really something to take note of. Just a couple of tips for success. Involve your necessary experts to do the proper planning. This is very important. If you want to take on a blueberry project, you need to involve the experts. They are from the dealers who can help you with the design, the companies like us, Netafim, who can help you to propose the right products to use. We can help the dealers with whatever they need. So please speak to your experts. Choose quality equipment. This is very important. Blueberries is a crop that's not very forgiving. Build redundancies into your irrigation system. You do not want to have a pump backup and you are a week without water. That is a disaster. So there must be some redundancies built into the system to make sure that you are always ready to give your water, give your fertilizer, do all these things. Measure, monitor. Again, that's what our machines does for you, those dosing machines, those controllers. There's other things like that can measure the soil moisture. We measure the water. We measure that the program is consistent, the salinity, the acidity, the pH in the soils, in the mixture. All these things, you must manage it by measuring it and monitoring it consistently. Prioritize maintenance, and that's where we play a very important part. We very often come to Zimbabwe, me and my team, and we go to farmers and we make sure that the people on the ground working with these systems every day are up to date on what they must do, how they must maintain it, and we check that it's done properly. And we do training and all these things with them. So use the data to make informed decisions. And lastly, I just want to reiterate, blueberries are not a forgiving crop. It's a complex crop, and you can't take shortcuts with it. You can make good money. It's a very lucrative crop, but it needs very hands-on management. So speak to the experts and embrace the technology that we have available. Thank you very much, Rawlings.
All right. Thanks very much, Charles, for such a wonderful and quite detailed presentation. And it is clear, farmers, that precision is the foundation of profitability. If you do have any question or comment for Charles, please do type in the chat box. And remember, we do have a dedicated question and answer session after all the presenters have spoken. So the next presentation, allow me to invite Rudo Chinoyi from Polachem, and he will we will talk to us about how we can safeguard our investment.
Okay, right. I just want to thank you very much for this very important session. My name is Rudo. I'm with Polachem Investments in the technical department. And today I'm just going to walk you through blueberry pest and disease profile. Blueberry, I'm just going to go through the phenological growth stages and then try to marry the problems, specific problems with each and every specific phenological stage. I'm going to start on the dormant stage, which they call the tight bud. I also want you to know, before I go further, to say that I'm actually talking from an experience perspective. I've been interacting with many blueberry farmers. At Polachem, we have a very a large share in the blueberry market. We're one of the top suppliers of good chemistry to our blueberry farmers in Zimbabwe. And I'm glad to be associated with this company because we actually specialize in quite good and very potent chemistry. So I'm going to start on the dormant and tight bud. The problems that are akin to this particular phenological stage are the scale insects, and of course the twig blight. You might want to really understand what does this dormant stage mean. It's pretty much what is it? There are no visible swelling of fruit buds. The bud scales are tightly closed. There is no what you call visible signs of growth. So these are the problems that you find at dormant stage. The scale insects. The scale insects actually does include your mealybug. It's one of a very common or prevalent scale insect that we find in many farms, blueberry farms in Zimbabwe. These are a group of small sap-sucking pests that, of course, cause significant damage to blueberry plants. Normally, they're found along the twigs, the stems. You pretty much have to scratch. At times, you think there's nothing because normally some of them assume the color of the twig, so you won't be able then to locate them. But if you then try to scratch them, you'll be able to see some movement there. But mealybugs are very conspicuous. You can actually see by the white color that they have. So these are mealybugs basically are piercing sucking pests. They actually suck on the stems, twigs, or leaf or plant leaves. Actually, they actually feed on the plant stem. What are the causes of this? The consequences of mealybugs. Normally, they stunt growth, and of course, they result in what they call twig dieback. Okay. What do we have, or what is it that our farmers are using to control these scale insects or mealybug to be more specific? We have a very important biological or botanical chemical which is called bionin. The active ingredient of bionin is called azadirachtin. This is a product from a neem seed extract. It's both. It's also an insect growth regulator. It actually affects the life cycle of the mealybug. So this is a very friendly oil-based. You need to pump in about 2 to 4 liters per hectare. And the good thing about this product, not only does it focus on the scale insects or mealybug as it were, but it also is broad spectrum in nature. It can control the race paramites. It can control other or the bollworms, the mosquito bug as well. It also does that job. So it's a very good product with a very friendly post-harvest interval. But please note, it's very important for you to note that what is very critical in the export market is the minimum residual levels. Yeah, and that normally comes from the market where you're actually exporting your blueberries to. So it's very important for you to work and be guided by that MRL list. We also have in our stock a very important product which is called Real Metarhizium 69. you need about 200 to 400 mils per hectare. This is an emulsifiable spore concentrate that is used as a counter by insecticide. It is an entomopathogenic product, and we have used it extensively in our blueberry farms, and it has really worked very, very well. So it's your good go-to product insofar as control of mealybug is concerned. The good thing, again, just to add on that, these two products, Binim, like I said, this is the plant extract, and this one is a bio insecticide. They all have what you call a 0-day withdrawal period, so they're very safe and very safe products for farmers to use as probably finisher products as you go through the production. The next stage is the pre-bloom. The pre-bloom phase. The pre-bloom phase, it has got two stages there. There is the bud swell. The bud will begin to swell, and also there is the stage of the early green tip, bud swelling, and so that constitutes your pre-bloom phase. So the problems that we normally find in the pre-bloom phase, we are doing it. We're going to have some spores of param mildew. Mealybug, of course, it comes up, but of course we've covered it in the in the dormant stage. We also have a common problem, which is for mopsis twig blight. This is very, very, very common at this stage. So, maybe just to explain a bit on the phomopsis twig blight. This is it primarily affects blueberry plants during the early stages, bud break, green tip, and through to the bloom. Of course, being the bud break and bloom being the most critical windows for new infection. Yeah. So normally, are we together? Are you following? Then what we have is this is the phomopsis twig blight. You can actually see the discoloration on that bud, brown, in color, and that's your twig back. That's your twig blight. And you also see, if you go to the other peak there, where there's a blueberry branch in production, that dieback, you can see that dieback. It's a sign of phomopsis twig blight. But I also want to emphasize at this point, with this juncture, to say that it's very important for you to correctly identify a problem before you actually recommend or come up with a solution. Because when you have a misidentity, that would automatically or technically result in a wrong remedy, and that is not good. So that is your phomopsis. If you're not sure, you need to consult your expertise just to find what it is, because there might be some confusion and confounding going on. Next slide. What products that we have? Which products that we have at Polachem that actually controls this twig blight? Vaxiplant is one of the products. This is a seaweed extract from a product called, or plant, or a seaweed called Lemunerin digitata. It's a product that we're actually taking off from France. It's an amazing product. What it does, it's not a curative plant-based insecticide, or sorry, a biofungicide. It primes the plant defense mechanism. So what then happens now? If wax plant is sprayed onto the plant will then think, well, I've got an infection, I've got an attack. Then it triggers the soldiers, your phytoalexins. They'll come to fight. They'll come to fight. So they're activated. That's the defense mechanism more of vaccine plant. So it is very important for you to keep on priming the plant probably after every 14 days so that you are preventing. Please note that when the twig blight is already in the system established, you cannot use your vaccine plant to control that twig blight. We also have in our stock a very wonderful product called Rio Trichoderma. This is a bio fungicide. It is the species Aspergillum. It's a very good product that we have in our Medist, which carries also a 0 pHI. We also have Evito T. This is fluxostrobin plus tebuconazole. Required probably you need to give it, to pump it at 600 ml per hectare. But I just want you to note these two, Evito T and Evito, they've got a very long residual period. So you pretty much need to come with these two products initially, not really at the end, just because of the very limited, a very low MRLs, the minimum residual limits that are carried by these products. Maybe before, we're going there. But the other issue that you need to know about the Evito T and the Evito C is that the fluxotropin has got a very long residual period. So you want that longevity, and that will help us to continuously control the spores of the Phomopsis twig blight. The powder mildew is another upcoming problem in Zimbabwe blueberry industry. I've got a farmer in Chegutu who was murdered by this thing. It's very easy to identify. And what we used was Cerasulfur. This is a bio fungicide, which comes out of industrial waste. It's a very potent one, and you can actually spray it at 1 liter per hectare. You get some very good results. We have Evito T. It does also powder mildew, Evito T, and Evito 48 at 350 ml per hectare. It's also interesting that vaccine plant, according to some trials that I did, I'm yet to publish these results. I'm working on a publication. The vaccine plant 1 liter per hectare, it can be used on powder mildew as curative. This is what I discovered. It can cure. Where you have, because the theory has always been, look, you come with vaccine plant prophylactically. But in this case, I had a massive attack on my research blueberries, a massive powder mildew attack. Then I came with Vaxiplant, and surely I'm glad to say within about 3 weeks it was all clear. So it's a curative product that farmers should use. Should you see or should you witness, observe powder mildew infection. At bloom phase, it's pretty much your flower. It's the blueberry plant is in flower, and it's a very critical, because we're going towards yield now. So the common problems that we have at blueberry at bloom phase is what do you call it, thrips. Thrips in the target plant during the bloom, and that leads to direct crop loss. The consequences of having thrips, they look very innocent. If you look at them, they're very tiny, but those are not good, the bugs, because they actually result in flower abortion. If you look at thrips, actually, they actually feed on on stylets, they feed on ovaries, they also feed on pollen. And of course, that inadvertently results in abortion before the fruit can set. Thrips also cause what you call fruit scaring. It's normally at egg-laying phase in the flower tissue. There are some scars that are formed, and that would affect the quality or the potential, the quality of the berries. They become unmarked. Those the scratches that they make on the tree. So we need to be on the gut. They are real, and it's another problem that we've been facing in our industry. There's another issue of pollination at the bloom phase. I will explain more about pollination as we go, but maybe there's scale insects. Your mealybug is there. Then of course, for mopsis, twig blight is also in the mix. So we have it again at bloom. What do we have, or what do we recommend farmers to use as a herbicide? This is a soil. It actually can be part of its lifestyle. It goes through this soil, whatever they go down and do the pipation right in the soil. So your control strategy should be also focused on the soil, because we have the pupa there. So we have extra 100 is the Saspo emulsion at 750. This is a C and Tranelipo. It's a product that is systemic. It's very good. It's broad spectrum in nature. It has been very helpful so far as drip control is concerned in blueberry. We also have Delegate. This is a no-brainer. Everyone knows Delegate. It's quite cheeky in terms of prices, but suffice to say that it does a great job. We also have Tracer 480 SE. Delegate and Tracer are pretty much in the same group, and you cannot alternate these two because of that. So your Tracer is in the liquid form. You need about 150 to 200 mils per hectare. Rio Bavaria. This is where I was going to come to. We have a potent product in our midst or in our mix, which is called Rio Bavaria. This one, you can actually soil apply it. It's an entomopathogenic product. You soil apply it, and it takes care of your pupa, the pupa stage. So yeah, so that's, you actually direct it to your soil, to the soil surface. Rio Veterisium, you pump it there. It's also good in controlling thrips. Then also have Bionim, which is our flagship product in our blueberry control strategy at 2 to 4 liters per hectare. Pollination. This is another a phenomena which probably we can try to help the plant to, if the plant in terms of we can actually come with our manipulation there. What do I mean? If you look at the blueberry flower, its shape, the shape of that blueberry flower, it has got a very narrow orifice or opening, and that becomes very complicated for the bee to do what they call the pollination, because we got two types of bee. There's nectar collectors. There's also pollen foragers, pollen collectors. So what then happens with that amount of opening, it won't then allow that bee to come and do his job effectively. So then that compromises the pollination process. We also have some complication in the pollination of blueberry because of nectar robbing. I've seen these carpenter bees. Most of the farms that I've visited, I've seen some carpenter bees. They come, we call them nectar robbers. They come and just make a slit in the side of the flower roller, and then reach out directly to the nectar without having to do the pollination process, and that is no good at all. So we have more of these carpenter bees in our system. Yeah, we just a few farms now, not really most. At my small plot that I had, not small plot, but of course some few blueberry plants for research purposes that I had. I saw this in my second year. Actually, saw the carpenter bees. And you know what then happens? All these foraging bees, they will come and use that opening because it's easy. It takes energy for them then to go through, instead of them taking energy to go through the forest, they actually can use that slit because it's easy. So that compromises the pollination aspect. But if you look at pollination, the number, we want to have more seeds in a blueberry fruit. And what then happens is that the number of seeds determine the size of the fruit. So there is a correlation between the number of seeds in the blueberry seeds, blueberry fruit, and of course the size of the blueberry fruit. So the more seeds you have, the bigger the fruit. The less seeds, the opposite is true. So our objective probably as farmers to have more seeds in the blueberry, because what then happens, the seeds have some hormones, and those hormones they actually help in the cell and tissue expansion to make that blueberry fruit bigger. So we need to have more seeds. So if the bee visit is so limited, then you're going to have less fruits. And I did some trial. I'm yet to publish, unpublished. I did that with Ray Young. Yeah, we found a correlation, a very positive correlation between the number of seeds and, of course, the blueberry fruit size. In order to solve this complication of pollination, or to help blueberries to pollinate, we have a product in our midst which is called polliners. But before I go to polliners, I also want to make mention of the fact that if you look at the blueberry, the other complication with blueberry flowers is that it's unattractive. If you look at it, it's unattractive to the bees. It doesn't produce any scent to attract bees. Number three, the nectar load is very low. So it's so discouraging. So the bees, the foraging bees, will actually go for the alternative. You see most of the time, you see the Mexican clover flowers, they are open. So they go to the Mexican clover flowers and do the foraging there. Whilst we have massive number of flowers just next to the flowers here. So they will rather opt to go for the Mexican clover flowers. So this polliners is a specialized honey bee attractant. We have developed it to improve the efficacy of berry pollination. I think I've mentioned that because the berry flowers are often less attractive to honeybees than other competing flowers due to their shape and, of course, nectar levels. Polliners acts as a olfactory signal to keep bees focused on the field. So we have it in our midst, a very important product. We've done trials, about 3 trials, documented. We wrote some scientific papers, and we've got that evidence available in our files that we're actually sharing with farmers to say this is a product you can actually use, a go-to product as far as improving pollination is concerned. Where we have used polliners, we've seen a one-ton advantage. So you do the cost and benefit analysis, you see yes, profitable even after using this polliners product. So our aging farmers, all in sundry to come and pick polliners. It's a very good product that would boost your production. The other phase is the petal fall and the post bloom petal fall. Yeah, we got botrytis. Yeah, botrytis. the botrytis in Nlea, the shupa, it's a problem. We also have the famous T mosquito bug. This is Helopeltis scoutideni, but of course, we have got many species, so I would rather call it Helopeltis SPP. We also have the scourge of capsid bug complex. These are major problems that we are grappling with in Zimbabwe as far as crop protection is concerned. Let me show what we have for botrytis. This is how it appears. If you see something like that, or those, you see that this is what they call blossom blight. This is botrytis blight, botrytis blossom blight. You also have there, if you look at the fruit, that's the symptoms, a telltale sign that we have botrytis fruit rot. This is botrytis fruit rot, and this is botrytis blossom rot. So we've got two types of botrytis there: blossom rot and fruit rot. What we have in our midst is Vaxiplant, obviously has a prophylactic drug or prophylactic a product that you can use prior to infestation or infection, sorry. We also have Retroxyderma. I've spoken about this. We also have Evito T and Evito, but however, it is very important for you to know the timing of application. Evito T, for me, when it goes to the fruiting phase, I don't advise you to come with Evito T and Evito for it because of the withdrawal period or the M, and of course the MRLs in this that are associated with these products. So you're safe with your Vaxiplant. You're also safe with your Trichoderma. We also safe with not sure, yeah, Bellis. We also have Bellis. Bellis is a combination of Pyrapextropin plus a boscalate. It's farmers have been using very quite a lot and effectively in controlling Wright. T mosquito bug. This is a shupa. I've also done a paper which is still unpublished. Yeah, this is a shupa. I think initially for us it was so difficult to identify, to really see, to be able then to tell, you know, to be able to pick the mosquito bug damage. But so I'm happy to tell you that we've heard a very, we now know this bug very well. It's it actually attacks the emerging new tender plant growth. Normally, where you have your new vegetative flush, your neems, the mosquito bug neems and adults, they sepsac from young leaves and tender stems. They actually cause a reddish brown patches that can lead to scorched looking bushes. If you look at your flowering and fruit set, you can see some punches on the young fruits, and of course that lead to deformed berries or premature drop. And you know what? Normally, if you have that peak population at that fruit set stage, there is the highest risk of economic damage. So, what have we done? What do we have in stock that actually helps you to control your mosquito bite? We have Riboviria, that one, this entomopathogenic product. Yeah, of course, it doesn't have instantaneous killing, or it doesn't have a quick knockdown effect, but it goes for about 7 days. You begin to see some population getting down. We also have rheumatorism. You see, pretty much you're actually using rheumatorism 69 everywhere. It actually controls what you call the mosquito bug. The mosquito bug complex. So the capsid bug complex. I don't know. Maybe there's a slide that you skip there. because we have capsid bug complex control. I was talking about the T mosquito bug. You can revert to the previous slide. Yeah, there we are. We got the Rio Bavaria, pretty much the same, Rio Meteorizer 69, and of course the Bionim. I would want to discourage farmers to use probably Bionim when your crop is in fruit, because of some discoloration, you know, of your fruits. That has been reported by many farmers. So I'm really scared to recommend Bionim at this juncture. You'd rather come with Bionim earlier before your fruit is set. But suffice to say that we have Rio Bavaria and Rio Meteorisium 69 to cover your T mosquito bug. Then the capsid, next slide, which is almost, I'm getting to the last one. Next slide, capsid bug complex. This is a complex of pests that feed on blueberry plants, causing damage to young shoots, buds, and developing berries. Capsid bugs are seps. They are sep suckers. What's really bad about them, they actually inject toxins into the plant while feeding. So you got your shoot damage. It actually targets the tops of the plant, feeding on the growth points, flower, and leaf buds. And that, of course, if you've seen some dehydration, and dying, what you call the blind buds. I've seen it in my mango plantation, you know, but yeah, I've seen this capsid bug big time, very, very aggressive. So they come, and they feed on those new shoots, and then injected some toxins there, and you see it with them. Then, you know, you got your capsid bug attack. Right. So what do we have? What we have is similar. What we have is similar in terms of control. We have Rio Bavaria. Also have we also have a Rio Meteorisium 69, and of course Bionim to control your capsid bug. Green to ripe berry. Yeah. This is where you need to come. Normally, yeah, you see that picture. Change from green to ripening. You need metallocytes. Your metallocytes, calcium, and of course Enamax. The reason why you need this too is because you know what? I should tell you a bit about metallocyte calcium. Every calcium ion in the metallocyte is bounded to two amino acids, of course, creating a metallocyte calcium molecule. If you look at the nature of calcium, it actually goes through what you call passive process, where there is a uptake by the roots. So they go with this water because of transpiration and go through these iron vessels. But now what then happens, this is a unique molecule that the plant will recognize that the molecule is a potentious molecule, allowing to travel in the phloem instead of the xylem. So the metallocyte calcium travels in the phloem vessel instead of the. So 50% of the calcium in metallocyte will be translocated and moving within the plant within 2 hours of application. That's how potent this product is. And studies across the world have proven that metallocyte calcium is more effective. It's more of a more effective way of increasing the calcium concentration inside the fruit. So this is a go-to product. You need to have probably about 2 sprays of metallocyte calcium in order for you to have a very firm and a very firm, what do you call it, a firm fruit. So that's what we have here. Then what else do we, sorry? Hello?
Hi, Rudo. Yes, we can hear you.
You hearing me?
Yeah, sure. I think you
Okay.
have 2 minutes.
I've got 2 minutes. Okay, then yeah, I can't. Okay, so yes, okay, fine. We also have NMX. NMX is another hot product that we have in our stock. This is a good one of our flagship products in our midst. It's a bioactivator. It's used primarily to increase fruit size, uniformity, and of course overall yield. What it does, it's about energy redirection. It forces the blueberry plant to temporarily redirect its energy and nutrients away from the vegetative parts, that's your leaves, your stems, and fruits, towards the developing berries. Yeah, so it's a complex. It's a complex of some very important nutrition, your phosphorus there, your potassium there, and other amino acids in there. And of course, the other undeclared parts there. Yes, it does that very well. And you've successfully used this product in potatoes. And normally, NMX come right at the end. This is what happened. It actually comes right at the end. We don't normally come at it with NMX. You come with it right at the end. You know what? You actually apply it through the foliar. When the fruit is like hazelnut sized, and of course, roughly 1 month before you do the harvesting. That's a massive product for you that we have in our stock. Then breakouts. This is our new baby. A very, very important product that we're using so much. We're selling so much in tomatoes. It is actually primarily used to improve the conversion of flowers into fruits, ensuring a high percentage of blossoms developing into berries. It actually stimulates cell division early in the fruit development cycle, which leads to larger, more consistently sized berries, a key factor for fresh market profitability. So that's our breakout there. So you can just come and break it. We have it in 5 liters. And you're good to go. It's you can actually do 3-4 applications per cycle. They're very potent, and the results are amazing. Polachem, we now domiciled at 104571 Pomona Business Park, Harare. We just close to Electrocell along Harare Drive. You can also find us. We're now domiciled in some provinces. You can just go to the next slide so that I can show it to farmers. Yeah, we now have some distribution points. Blawayo Seed Center. We also in Bankets, a Sunray Shop, Marondera, Sunray Shop. We also have our partner Greenfuse in Mashingo for our small scale farmers. You also find us there. Our contact number there is 07139 68128 or 0712 or 58124. You can actually call us or WhatsApp us. Then we'll be able to attend to you in a jiff. Then do you have anything there? One slide there too. Can you do another slide? Yeah, there we are. Seeing is believing. There we go. We got our binding. This is how it appears. We got our new baby there. Break out. We also have our polliners. You can see polliners, an amazing product, a bee attractant. So this is what we have. We've got all these products in 5-liter pack sizes. Our flagship product, Rio Meteorism 69, Evita T, our Rio Tracker Demo. We also have it there in 1-liter pack sizes. I would want to thank you very much for the time that you've given to me, and I hope this interaction was beneficial. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Rudo, for such a wonderful presentation. And indeed, maintaining plant health is non-negotiable. And now since we now have a healthy crop, how do we ensure it actually reaches the international premium shelves? This requires us to have a deep understanding of global standards. Joining us next is Bolton Kudzai Kakava from Bolton Consultants. And Bolton will break down the essential post-harvest cold chain and certification requirements. Bolton, you have 7 minutes.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and it is a pleasure to be here. Let me share my screen. So I'm going to be talking about meeting export market demands and in blueberry production. So this is my presentation outline where we will talk about quality management, quality and management standards for fruit maturity and defect tolerances. We also talk about documentation, traceability systems, and mandatory record keeping, post-harvest and cold chain and logistics, the technical requirements for cooling and transit, market readiness, packaging trends, timing, and volume consistency. We also talk about compliance and risk, common mistakes to avoid, and required certifications. And then maybe I'll also talk about what we do as bottom compliance. So firstly, you find that you need to understand that after harvesting your crop, the crop is still alive, is still breathing, and we always encourage farmers to harvest blueberries 100% blue because blueberries are non-climateric. They do not continue to ripen post-harvest, so you need to make sure that you harvest them at optimal maturity. And how do you not take note that they have reached optimal maturity? It's when they are 100% blue. And also you find that in the EU, for you to enter into the extra class, they don't not require any defects. So you need to make sure that when you harvest your crop, you need to minimize bruising and as well as breaking the fruit so that at least most of the fruit can enter into the extra class. And also to take to cognizant what has been presented by the previous presenters, because the pre-harvest factors will influence your post-harvest. So you need to make sure that your pre-harvest factors are taken into consideration because they will also influence how the quality of the product will look like at post-harvest. And also you need to take to consider that China has zero tolerance for quarantine pests like the Mediterranean fruit fly, as well as other pests like mango fly. And then there are also other key scientific maturity indicators that we can also take into consideration in order for us to determine when our crop is mature. We use the anthocyanin pigment content, that blue color that you see. So that's the most reliable indicator, is the total anthocyanin content, which increases significantly while chlorophyll decreases as the fruit ripens, as well as we also use the fruit firmness, which also decreases progressively, with early stages having the highest force at skin break, as well compared to ripe berries. So fruit firmness will also tell us if the fruit is now ripening, as well as total soluble solids, the bricks. They talk about the sugars inside the fruit. They increase during ripening and stabilize around 10 to 14%. And also it's cultivar dependent with lower values indicating immaturity. And then also we can check the titratable acidity, which decreases significantly as the fruit turns red, from red, purple to blue. Then there are also other volatile organic compounds that we can also measure: the hexanols, the hexanol, the alcohols, which are key markers that are used to determine the aroma development and the peak maturity stages. And then we want to move on to some of the records that we need to maintain. We need to maintain the spraying logs, the precise chemical names, active ingredients, concentrations, exact application dates. We need also to make sure that as that has been presented, pest monitoring is important. Fortnightly records of pest surveys from flowering to harvest. We need to have our lot IDs. This is important for traceability. We need to assign a unique traceability lot code to every pallet or batch, so that when there is a recall or we want to withdraw the product from the market, maybe you've discovered that we've exceeded the maximum residue limits. or levels maybe for pesticides, or there have been some recalls that have been conducted, or some rejections by the buyer. You need to make sure that you'll be able to trace your product from the market back to the orchard, and then maybe from the orchard back to the market. So it's up, down, and down, up. So you need to make sure that you trace your product. And there's mandatory documentation that is required by different markets. Records must be retained for 2 years in China. If you are targeting China, pest monitoring and spray logs, and then the EU, all shipments must be traced via the traces system that has been developed by the EU. And then also spray log is essentials. You need data points, active ingredient dosage, target pests, exact application date. And also, like one of the speakers is that explained, you need to make sure that you adhere to the pre-harvest intervals to meet MRLs. And then we want to move on to the berry post-harvest and cold chain management. So I'm breaking down this berries post-harvest and cold chain management into several stages. The first stage is on post-harvest handling. So berries should be filled, picked in pallets and placed in ventilated plastic crates. And you need to make sure that you transport the fruit to the packing house as soon as possible after harvesting. And berries should be kept in the shade whilst awaiting transport to the packing house. So you need to make sure that you minimize exposing the fruit to direct sunlight or direct heat in the orchard. So you need to make sure that you put them under a packing house whilst I'm waiting for transport. And then upon arrival at the packing house, berries should be at least partially pre-cooled to 7 degrees Celsius approximately by forced air cooling with humidification to prevent dehydration. And then number 3, you can pack and extend. This is a packaging that has been developed by a certain company called Stepak. So pack it as low a temperature as feasibly possible, and then avoid increasing temperature of partially cooled fruit. And then as well as place the extend bag in the packaging carton and spread it against the walls of the packaging carton. Use well ventilated cartons with ventilating holes on all sides to allow air circulation, as well as insert the pallets inside and then evacuate excess air with your hands. And then you gather the edges of the bag and twist firmly. And then after that, you fold over the twisted tip of the bag to form what we call a J-like shape, and then apply a rubber band on the J-like twisted tip and seal tightly so that the air will not escape from the bag. And then number 4, you force air cool to 0 to 1 degree Celsius. So if you're using an extend packaging, there's no need for humidification at this stage as the produce is sealed in bags, which will prevent dehydration. And then you need to make sure that you maintain temperatures of 0 to 1 degree Celsius throughout the supply chain. And then we will move on to the logistics, storage on transit. Maintain a constant 0 degrees to around negative 0.5 degrees Celsius. Spikes above 2 degrees Celsius significantly reduce shelf life and can cause maybe the development of other post-harvest diseases. So you need to make sure that you maintain the constant temperature of 0 degrees to at least down to minus negative 0.5 degrees Celsius. And then you need to make sure that your humidity, that is, if you are not going to be using an extend packaging, you need to make sure that your humidity is maintained at 90 to 95% relative humidity to prevent shriveling and weight loss. And also you need to monitor the temperature, use continuous temperature data loggers in all shipping containers. And then you need to take cognizant or take into consideration different standards for different markets. For China, they require cold treatment. So the pulp core temperature of the fruit should be maintained at 1.1 1 degree Celsius or below for 15 consecutive days. So it's a cold treatment that is required by China, which is part of the China protocol. And then the EU standards, you need to maintain the temperatures around 0 to 2 degrees continuously. Spikes greater than 2 degrees Celsius risk potato growth. And calibration, you need to make sure that you calibrate your temperature sensors prior to loading your fruit into the container. And then we want to talk about the packaging and presentation. Find that there are different consumer formats that are there in different markets. You find that in the EU, mostly the standard is 125-gram packaging panels,
Hi,
as well
Bolton.
as, sorry?
Sorry to interrupt. You have 3 minutes.
Okay. Thank you very much. And then you need also to take into consideration the sustainability shift towards cardboard panels, where they are now discarding the use of plastics. And they must include the product name, origin, class size, pick ID, certification logos. In case of global gap, you are not allowed to use the logo, but you are also allowed to use the GGN, the global gap number, on the packaging. And then packaging and presentation, like I've said, it's different for different markets. Like in China, each package must specify the GACC registration codes. Then for the EU, they are now moving forward towards the heat seal top fumes and cellulose window cardboard panels, as well as modified atmosphere liners, long trips. And then market timing and volume. Zimbabwe season starts late April to October, and then the peak opportunity that we have where there's low global competition, August to October. And then remember, we have zero tariff access to China effective of 1 May 2026. So we need to take advantage of that. And then we need to be consistent in supplying our volumes. And then there are different market-specific protocols for each country that you need to take cognizance of. And then also China has got its own market-specific protocols. And then the certifications that we need, global gap. This is the entry ticket for farm level safety, environmental sustainability, worker welfare, BRCGS for your pack houses and processing facilities. What we're emphasizing here is the food safety culture. We need to make sure that you handle your food in a manner that ensures food safety, as well as we need SMATA. We want to understand, buyers want to know if you are have a responsible business practices. You are not abusing your workers on your farms. So you need to be certified to SMATA or the equivalent GRASP. That is part of the global gap standards. And then the common mistakes to avoid, you need to make sure that you never break the cold chain. Even a 30-minute temperature spike can cause condensation and subsequent mold growth. So botrytis, as you can see in the picture, can develop because of that. And then rough handling, touching the fruit more than once during harvest destroys the bloom and causes internal bruising. That will cause deterioration of the quality of the product. Poor record hygiene, incomplete spray logs can result in entire consignment being rejected at the border. And then incorrect pre-cooling, delaying cooling by 10 plus hours is a leading cause of quality claims. And then chemical non-compliance, I find that the chemical ethaphone has been re-registered again in the Europe, but its MRO has been reduced to the limit of determination. So it's more like you're being discouraged to use ethaphone. And then iprodione has been banned totally in the EU. And then the coach and brakes, loading home food, are not for maintenance, not cooling. So never cool your product using a reefer or a refrigerated truck. And then incomplete registration in China, the GACC need to approve the orchards. So never use or never harvest fruit from unregistered orchards because they will reject that product. I've come to the end of my presentation. I hope this was helpful. Thank you.
Thanks much, Bolton, for such a wonderful presentation. And sorry to rush you, but I'm sure you covered the key areas of the presentation. Thanks again. Then next up, we do have Tinashe Nlea from the Agricultural Marketing Authority. And Tinashe will discuss with us the local opportunities for blueberries here in Zimbabwe. Tinashe, you have 7 minutes.
Thank you. So I'll just start by giving a brief background about what the Agricultural Marketing Authority does. So we are a statutory board under the Ministry of Agriculture, Mechanization and Water Resource Development. We were established through an Act of Parliament, Chapter 1824. So basically, our mandate is the over-regulation and production of marketing, processing, and of all agricultural produce in Zimbabwe except for tobacco and pig. And part of our key focus areas involve so ensuring that there's compliance in the industry, providing industry with market intelligence, facilitating market access and as well as linkages, and then coordinating the whole value chain. So today we're going to be talking about the blueberry sector. Most of my colleagues have already, talked about the production side, the different markets. So blueberry is a is a primarily export crop. So you find that the bulk of people that are producing it for export. So I'll just share a bit of stats in terms of where we are this year already. Between January and March 2026, we've already been able to export about 21,000 kilograms of blueberries, just to show you the growth of the industry. And this is just a comparison of 2024 and 2025 exports, where we're saying Zimbabwe exported around 8 million kilograms of blueberries, generating revenue of about 80 million US dollars. So I think I'll go and kind of explain what our blueberry production market structure is like. So the first is the export grade, which obviously goes to the different markets. And then the second is the formal domestic, which is absorbed by your supermarkets. So you'll find blueberries and Pick n Pay, food lovers, your Freshco, Wine. Those are the major retailers that are taking blueberries. And then you also have the informal sector where you have your different markets like your Mbare, and then you find individual vendors within various locations selling blueberry as well. So from our research, the pricing, Mbare and the informal traders usually have the cheapest, and then your retailers are currently selling a 250 gram pallet for about $2, and then the bigger pallets go for $3 in the informal market. So I think the challenge that we've been facing is there's no standardized packaging for the blueberries. You find that in some cases it's the 200 grams, in some cases it's the 250, and then in some cases the bigger one that has about 500 grams, which you usually find in the informal market rather than the formal supermarkets. But generally, consumption of blueberries has been on the rise locally, obviously because of health and wellness positioning, urban retail visibility, compared to the previous years. We're now seeing more blueberries being sold in the supermarket, and consumers are becoming more and more open to purchasing blueberries, using this in cereals, your smoothies, ice cream. So you can tell that from previous years, consumption of blueberries locally is actually on a rise. And then in terms of, I won't talk about the global standards and certification. Bolton has already spoken about that. But in terms of the regulatory framework within Zimbabwe, when you're selling to the formal markets, some will require an AMA registration for the producer, which is just $1. And then if you fall within the category of a merchant, you will need a license, which will cost you 125 if you're a small scale producer. And then if you're a large scale wholesaler, you will be required to produce a license, which will cost you around $350. But for the local market, they usually just require a producer registration. Some do not ask for the producer registration. So you might get away with just, being able to supply directly to the retail market. I think in a nutshell, the other colleagues have spoken about the compliance issues, where the blueberry is going to, and the general value chain. So I think the other issue is the bottlenecks that have been facing the industry in terms of its growth, financial gaps. Blueberry is quite an expensive crop to produce. I think that's obviously why most crop is for export. And then, the logistical challenges some producers are facing in terms of freight dependence, the cold chain costs, and infrastructure gaps that are there as a growing industry. And then in terms of compliance, issues to do with certification costs, the phytosanitary requirements, as well as some regulatory levies. So for us as the regulatory authority, we feel like this is a value chain that has so much potential, and to grow our local market, we are encouraging our producers to explore value addition, production of jams, production of frozen fruit and health supplements that can actually be absorbed within the domestic market, rather than just relying on the export market. So, practical action that would like the industry to also take is standardized reporting, so that it's easier for us to track local production, what is being consumed locally, and what is then being consumed, or rather going to the export market. Infrastructure support, domestic utilization, promoting consumption of the blueberries, for the export grades as well, and then developing a comprehensive checklist covering field inspections and phytosanitary documentation. So I think in a nutshell, from the authority, we have noticed that there is a certain appetite that is growing for consumption of blueberries. Obviously, because a lot of people are becoming more health conscious. A lot of people have been exposed to blueberries, and there's a growing rate of consumption. So I think as we go into the peak season and prices will grow, get a bit lower within the domestic markets, consumption will also improve for blueberries. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Tinashe, for such a wonderful presentation. And it is encouraging to see how we are growing in the local market consumption, and also the strategic support that we get from the Agricultural Marketing Authority. Next up is Vivinah from Zintrade. And Vivinah is here to talk about the export market and how Zintrade supports farmers in navigating the international trade corridors. Vivinah, you have exactly 5 minutes.
Yeah, thank you very much. I don't know if I'll be able to share everything in 5 minutes, but let me try. I prepared quite a presentation. So maybe if you allow me maybe to skip some parts of the presentation and possibly focus on the key considerations for blueberries maybe, and what Zintrade does in terms of assisting would-be exporters to be able to export into the different markets. I will not dwell on the figures. My previous colleague has just mentioned that, and maybe just generally export markets that Zimbabwe has been exporting to. The UAE has become one of the largest markets that we're exporting to as a country, followed by South Africa, China, Mozambique. etc., and then the rest there. Just in brief, the global horticulture market regarding the blueberries market size. 2024, it was standing at 9.8 billion, but we envision that this market will continue growing over the years until we have a market size of about 13.53 billion in 2032. Now, I think one of the fun facts to note is that Zimbabwe is one of the fastest growing exporters of blueberries in Africa. I'm sure a lot of us have seen articles that have been written regarding the blueberries coming out from Zimbabwe. And naturally, the major driving factors for this is, the growing preference for food-rich and antioxidants, as well as advances in cultivation and post-harvest handling technologies, which I think the first speaker also spoke about, as well as the rising demand in emerging markets. Again, just, briefly, Zimbabwe's exports are 8 years old, but they've also since taken over, like Zimbabwe's blueberry exports, they've also since overtaken other traditional export products in value for Zimbabwe alone, which is something that is quite encouraging. And then just briefly, Zimbabwe's current export markets for blueberries, United Kingdom, we've been sending for about 2 million, Netherlands, Germany, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Singapore, the UAE, as well as South Africa. Although in some cases, what is being sent to South Africa is most likely also re-exported to other countries. Of course, yes, it will be consumed, but some of it is also re-exported from South Africa to other consumer markets. I will skip the slide and just possibly talk about the trade agreements that we can take advantage of. That is the EU or the UK EPA-ESA trade agreement that we can take advantage of, as well as the protocols. Zimbabwe has finalized a protocol with China on blueberry trade, so that's something that's encouraging. And for some of the markets within Asia, such as Japan, Russia, the process has been initiated for such similar protocols to be able to export to those markets as well. These protocols also outline in terms of your cold chain, what to look out for, the size, etc. I think like some of the speakers have mentioned, it's important that you work backwards and start with the market in mind before you plant, because that's where you get all the information in terms of blueberry size and varieties and different things like that, as well as any other compliance certifications that you should have, your global gap, your SMETA that was mentioned, as well as anything to do with food safety. And then we have the AFCFTA as well as a trade agreement that we can also take advantage of within Africa. And then for the GCC markets, your UAE, your Saudi Arabia, your Qatar, you'll find that they have less stringent export requirements, unlike the EU. So that was also possibly another, market to consider when trying to export for the first time. Value addition options, these have already been mentioned, your jams, your juices, as well as dried blueberries, just to allow to get more value out of your product. And as we all know, Zimbabwe is a non-GMO policy and has the potential to export organic produce due to its rich soil as well as favorable climatic conditions. I think what's important there is just to ensure that may possibly as a country, we take advantage of situations where there's a low supply within the market, and then that's when we can make more money and take advantage of that situation as well. And then on your key factors considered by distributors, definitely your product quality. And at this point, we're looking at the size and the firmness of the product, as well as sweetness and freshness, color uniformity as well, shelf life, as well as packaging quality, and not to ignore issues to do with your certifications like your Global Gap, your HACCP, anything to do with food safety, your proper cold chain management, phytosanitary standards, which have also been mentioned. These are some of the things that international buyers will prioritize when it comes to export goods. And then also pay attention to terms of payment as an exporter. Common payment methods here are your advance payments or letters of credit, whatever works for you. But make sure that before you sign a contract with a buyer, you fully understand what it is that they require and what they can offer you as well, including currency and any other banking arrangements, just to avoid disputes. And then product fit, the product must also match the preferences and requirements of the target market. So again, similar to product quality, but you're also looking at your preferred blueberry varieties for that specific market. Like, for example, the EU mostly takes your small blueberries because of how they consume it. The preference is for the small blueberries, but your markets such as the UAE and China can take the larger variety. So you'll find that a lot of blueberry farmers, when they begin, they do a mixed variety on the same plantation, just to ensure that there is opportunity either way, and can take advantage of whatever comes first, whether it's the EU market or it's the Asian market or the GCC. And then as well, I think something that's very important to also pay attention to is supply capacity. Unfortunately, the export market is not very forgiving. Once you fail once, trying to get back into it can be very difficult and taxing. And also, just to add on that, once you send the wrong quality or quantity, if for example, they choose to then destroy the product, be rest assured that you're also going to incur a financial burden on that. So it's important that when you decide to go into the export market, you ensure that you are able to supply the market in the right quantities, the production volumes, reliability of supply as well, and as well as ability to scale production. And for blueberries, you definitely would need to invest in some professional farm management systems. With the advent of AI, that is surely very possible. But however, to strengthen confidence, would encourage, as Zintrade, that farmers group together, form clusters to ensure that there's always consistency in terms of supply. And then as well as pricing of product, very key there. Of course, pricing is influenced by production costs, your freight and logistics. For example, it's either you're going to choose, let's say, driving, using the road to Johannesburg. And then from Johannesburg, your product goes on to KLM to the different markets, or you'll use the UAE route in terms of logistics for your goods. So all of those things are to be considered, as well as market demand and seasonality and exchange rates in the different markets as well. I think those are some of the things that are key and to consider as well. I will not dwell too much on this slide. I'll move to the next one. About us, who we are as a company. So Zintrade is the National Trade Promotion and Development Body for Zimbabwe, which was established in 1991 and is a joint partnership between government and the private sector. Basically, our work falls under 4 arms, which is your market information. Part of our work involves us going to different markets in the world, doing surveys, and then coming back with information to say what market requires which products from Zimbabwe. And then we disseminate that information as well to would-be exporters or current exporters, and ensure that they understand the quality that is required, the quantities that are required, and any other special paperwork that may be required to penetrate into that market. And then once we have done these dissemination surveys and maybe pick up that there's a gap, we move on to what we call export development. And with export development, basically our work is to build up the capacities of would-be exporters or even current exporters. We do this via programs like your Eagle's Nest youth export incubator, your Next Year Exporter program, which is specific for women. And then we also work with experts from different countries, particularly from an organization called POOM from the Netherlands, as well as SCS from Belgium, who assist in terms of building capacities. And part of our work also involves clusters, which now I think we are standing at about 22 clusters that we've put together of different products, and working with consolidators so that there's a guaranteed off-taker of product. And then we also do what we call export promotion. At that point, we're saying you have been developed, your capacity is now ready, we are sure. We then take you to trade shows, trade events. We are able to meet buyers and also just have an appreciation. These can also be used as learning visits, where you just have an appreciation of what is being done on the global market. What we always encourage people is, even when you're starting something locally, just do it with the global market in mind. And it makes it easier when you then try to penetrate the global market. And then because of our unique positioning, we're also able to speak to government as well as the private sector. We also focus on lobbying and advocacy. This is to assist in terms of ease of doing export business. So any issues that may impede that process or slow it down, we try and make sure that we are able to knock on doors and assist where necessary, so that these impediments are resolved. Just key takeaways. I know this was a bit rushed considering the amount of time. However, quality is a non-negotiable. We can never emphasize that enough. At no point should it be okay for us to send a product that doesn't have the right packaging, that's not the right quality to an export market. So it's important that, again, we work from the market going backwards, just to understand whether it's language translations that need to be made and what sort of certifications are required for that specific product. All of these things are very important. And then reliability builds global trust. It's important that in terms of supply, there is some sort of consistency. In terms of product quality, there's also some sort of product consistency. Like I said, the export market is not very forgiving. Once you make one slip up, one mistake, that's it. So we always need to put our best foot forward when we're trying to explore export markets. And then definitely Zimbabwe can compete globally. We are doing it, and we can do more to get onto that global market. And global markets reward discipline and consistency. Definitely it's key that we continuously put our best foot forward to ensure that we have the right product, the right market, right quality, and consistent in terms of supply. I think this is where I will end. If there are any questions or people who might need more information or assistance, I will also leave my contact details maybe in the chat box, and then we can take it from there. Thank you very much.
What a wealth of knowledge. Thanks, Vivinah, for such a wonderful presentation. Though we rushed you, but you managed to cover the key concept and the key areas of your presentation. Thanks again. So now we quickly move to the question and answer session. And please, farmers, do keep your questions and comments coming through via the chat box. So the first question that I have here is to Netafim. Netafim South Africa. So it says, I wanted to check if Netafim does assessments for irrigation requirements for new farmers, and if this is at a cost. Charles, if you can take that one.
Thank you, Rawlings. Yes, we can help with that. As I explained, usually we work through our dealers or our distributors. So we've got those 3 or 4 very capable guys. If you want to have us look at water analysis, soil analysis, look at whatever is necessary in the whole planning process, yes, we can arrange it. Those guys are very capable. They can usually do it themselves, but anyone can reach out to me, and I will then direct them to the correct person depending on what the question is that they have.
All right. Thanks for taking that one. The second question I have is for Bolton. Bolton, this farmer is asking for your contacts.
Okay. My contacts, you can get in touch with me on 0779 579 803.
All right. Rudo, this is for you. It says, does Polachem have a spray program for blueberries like we do in other crops?
Thank you very much. Yeah, good question indeed. We have a program that we actually giving farmers to a crop rotation program, and I'll say I'm going to share it. I'm almost finishing it. Yeah, we had some. We were doing some consultations, and of course, we're getting some input from our other academic and professional gurus outside the country. And I'm glad to say that we're almost there in terms of finalizing it, and it should be ready, I'm sure, in about a week's time from now. Yeah, so I'll say yes, we have that as work in progress.
All right, thank you. And the following is for Amma. It says, Amma, well done for your presentation and for pushing the local market demand. I think we also need to educate the market on the benefits of blueberries so we can create more demand. Okay, it's a comment to you, Tina. I don't know if you want to respond to that one.
Not necessarily taking lots. We definitely need to do more work to just try and increase the appetite for local consumption of blueberries.
All right, thank you. The following is for Zintrade. It says, please, if we can have your contacts, Vivinah.
Not a problem. Can I put them in the chat box or?
Sure.
Yeah, I'll put them in the chat box. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Then the next question is for Netafim. They're asking for your contacts, Charles. Maybe
I've put my email. Thanks, Rollins. I've put my email in the chat.
All right.
So anyone can look there. It's very easy. charles.wright@netafim.com. Very easy.
Thanks, Charles. Then whilst you're still there, Charles, there's another question here. It says, is there any yield difference between blueberries in pots versus in the ground?
Normally, there's not a huge difference in yield. It all depends on the conditions that you have outside, whether you go to soil, whether you go to pots. If you've got good soils and you plant and you manage them in the soil, you get good yields, good quality, not a problem. When farmers do not have good soil, they prefer to go rather to pots. Yield-wise, there's not a huge difference. There's a number of factors that can influence it. In pots, you are usually under covers, under net or in a greenhouse, which is added benefit. It is obviously much more expensive to plant it that way. In South Africa, the majority of blueberries are planted under covers. So yeah, but there's not a massive yield difference between soil versus pots. It all depends on the conditions that you control.
Hello.
All right, thanks, Charles. Another one for you, Charles. It says, how long is the growing process? Okay, it's coming from Chakawira. It says, how long is the growing process? I think from planting to the first harvest.
Rollings, I'm actually not 100% sure. It does take a couple of months before you can do your first harvest. I talk under correction, but I've got a figure in mind of 9 or 10 or 12 months, thereabouts, before you have your first harvest. But yeah, send me an email, reach out to me, and I will put you in contact with someone that can answer all these detailed questions, with one of our agronomists.
Thanks, Charles. Okay, the next question is from Muchiraondo. How can we have access to the recording? Sure, we have recorded the webinar and we'll upload the link to our YouTube channel. So it's Agribusiness TV ZW. You can, I think by Monday, you have a recording to the webinar. Then the following question This is for Agricultural Marketing Authority. It says, do we need any Agricultural Marketing Authority licenses to export blueberries?
Yes, you would need one, depending on your category as a merchant. So to be able to get that permit from the ministry, they will require an AMA permit, which will cost you $150.
All right, thank you.
That's the thing.
Then Bolton, this is for you. It says, how long does the certification process take after we've engaged you? Hi, Bolton, checking if you are still on the call.
Oh, sorry. Some technical issue. Okay. A minimum of 3 months, but can be longer, whichever is longer for you to keep your records and maintain your records. And then you get prepared, trained for the external auditor to come and audit your farm. And then you get certified. If everything is okay, within a month after the audit, you can get your certification. But if there are some issues, you need to correct what we call non-conformances or non-compliances. And then after that, you get your certification. So a minimum of 3 months to keep your records, or even longer than that.
All right. The following is just a comment to Zintrade. It says, thank you, Zintrade. We've seen a lot of work you are doing to promote exports. Thank you. And I've actually downloaded the app you shared. Okay. Vivinah, that's a comment for you. Would you like to respond to it?
I thank you very much for the compliment, and definitely will keep ensuring that we get our products out there. Thank you.
All right. The next question is to Polachem. It says, are your products suitable for fertigation?
Right. Yes. Just to answer that question, yes, they are extremely suitable or compatible with fertigation equipment. If you look at, I want to give an example, your bionims, your meds, we've got some of the pests, they complete their life cycle in the soil. So you can come with your bionim or med 69 or Rio trichoderma. You can pump it through the fertigation equipment, and it will help. If you also look at our liquid fertilizers, our breakout, our metallocytes, they also get taken up by the plant root system through the xylem vessel. So yes, to answer the question, yes.
All right, thank you. I see a lot of questions still coming, a lot of questions and comments. I think because of our time, I will take this last question. It's for Netafim, it's for Charles. It says, any distributors in Zimbabwe for Netafim South Africa products?
Yes, thank you, Rawlings. We have 3 distributors, 4 actually, but the 3 main ones that we have in Zimbabwe, I'm trying to put them in alphabetical order. So the first one is Driptech. They are very well known, and they've got a couple of branches in Harare. The next one is Valley or Center Pivot Irrigation. And the last one is Wright Irrigation. They're also based in Harare, on Harare Drive. So, yeah, all 3 of these guys have a lot of experience with blueberries. They've done a lot of designs. They've implemented a lot of projects in Zimbabwe specifically. They've also done some work in Zambia on blueberries. So, yeah, if anyone wants more detailed information or contact details of them, they're very welcome to send me a mail, and I'll put them in contact and introduce them to one of the dealers.
All right, thanks, Charles. Okay, I think that was the last question we could take because of our time. But before we conclude, I would like to go back to each of our speakers for one final parting shot. If there's one piece of advice or a key takeaway that you want our farmers and investors to remember as they leave this webinar today, what would it be? I'll start off with Charles, Rudo, then Bolton, Tinashe, and Vivinah. So Charles, your final thoughts?
Thank you, Rawlings. Yeah, the key advice from my side is blueberries is a complex crop. It's not an easy crop. You cannot, you shouldn't take shortcuts, as I said. So talk to the experts right from the start, do everything correctly, and it's a very rewarding crop to grow. So yeah, it might sound complicated. It is. It's not. It's a complex crop, but it's very rewarding. And please go for it.
Thanks, Charles. Rudo, your parting advice?
Yeah, thank you so much. My parting shots is, well, will be let us all live here with one mind. The best way to compact mosquito bugs, capsid bugs, botrytis, pollination issues is to work with Polachem. Though our network, you can actually do that through our network, our robust research. We can continue to advocate for supports that actually work for all blueberry farmers in Zimbabwe. Thank you for the time, and let us work together to ensure our blueberries remain a global leader in quality and health. God bless you.
Thanks. Bolton, your key takeaway?
Okay, my recommendation to farmers is that invest in cold storage facilities. Make sure that you work with the experts who can design your pack houses, your cold storage facilities, and make sure that you invest in certification. That is your gate to global markets. And also make sure that you understand your market. So that's what I can recommend to all the farmers that are here.
Thanks. Tinashe, your final word?
I think my advice is for farmers to also, maintain the same standard for local as the same as for export, so that we have a unified standard for both local and export markets.
Thanks, Tina. Vivinah, your closing message?
Thank you for that. I think in closing, I would say that success in blueberry exports will depend on consistency, compliance with international standards, as well as collaboration across the value chain. And I think, as evidenced by just us coming together today, we have met different experts from different parts of the value chain. So it's important to just keep that link, keep that value chain going, and then ensure that we are successful as a nation in exporting blueberries. Thank you.
Thank you all for those powerful parting shots. And it's clear that the blueberry business is about precision, it is about protection, and about partnership. A huge thank you once again to our presenters, Charles Wright, Rudo Chinoyi, Bolton Kakava, Tinashe, and Vivinah Matswetu, and to all participants and the partners who made this event a success. And to our audience, thank you so much for your time and for engagement. The name is Rawlings. Keep farming smart, and we look forward to seeing you at our next session.